Hello and welcome to Random Offense. I'm your host, Ethan Strauss. We are joined by a good friend. That would be Sam Esfandiari of the Light Years podcast. I think he's an expert at all levels of media. I think he has wonderful takes. And boy, do we have just a rich stew of media for all of you. We've got controversy. We've got guests on my podcast, people I know, people arguably friends of mine, Sam, who are fighting, and they're fighting over the meaning of journalism. And I think that's going to be maybe a thread on this. We've got just a rich, wonderful tapestry of sports media for you all to discuss, including very basketball topic of whether Steph Curry is greater historically than Kobe Bryant. Sam, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. Nice Friday. As you can see behind me, it's nice and bright
Ooh,
outside.
yeah,
I got
yeah.
like the angelic lighting behind me. That's more of I had to move my desk away from construction happening outside, but there's some positive effects going on here.
It doesn't look wintry. It looks ideal. It looks like you're broadcasting from heaven. That's what it looks like. It looks like you're in
Playback
Valhalla.
died on Monday and I am now in heaven. That is correct.
I mean, it's put me in a good mood. I enjoy it. So we're gonna go from the idyllic, ethereal to the down and dirty media dispute. I felt like I needed to. I don't know what it says about me, Sam, that I felt a responsibility to talk about this topic. That there are topics people turn to. That when something serious happens, there's some sort of news person that they look to, right? If there's something with disease, maybe they used to go to Sanjay Gupta. I don't know if he's still on the list. I think when Pablo Torre of Pablo Torre finds out and Nick Wright of First Things First have a tense argument over the relative skills and abilities of each person, I feel as though that I'm supposed to say something about it and explore the space, Sam. I think so anyway. That's what I think about myself.
Yes. Yeah. What's the meme? Get in there and make it about you. Yeah. That's you right here. No, no. I mean, it's a big part of why people like your writing and your commentary. You're able to kind of explain to the layman who's not working in the sports media or the capital J journalism space
Mm.
what's really going on here. What does this really mean? Because to people like me, I'm just seeing two dudes crashing out on a live stream.
Well, I think that it's that as well. I mean, I think there's more interest in it than sometimes we admit. This is something that I've gone through with media, where if you're in official media collecting a check from a corporate entity, I think there's a lot of interest below the surface in these different personalities who have accrued some renown and gotten an audience. But it's almost like an omerta because you don't want to fight in front of other people and you just try to keep things buddy buddy on the surface. And I think we tend to do that. That tends to happen. But in this instance, we have Pablo Torre finds out, who's getting a tremendous amount of praise for his podcast in how it's broken news. I've had him on my podcast. He broke the scandal, alleged scandal with the Clippers and their no-show job for Kawhi Leonard. There have been a variety of stories that he has broken on that podcast. It's been acquired by the New York Times / The Athletic for something like over $1 million. And from my perspective, he's, at the top right now. And then on the other side, we've got Nick Wright, who is a polarizing personality, but I believe just truly gifted in rhetoric as an arguer. And his show is tremendous. First things first. It is, I think, the non-athlete version of Inside the NBA. And I assumed that all these people were friends. Does this ever happen if you're not in a group, you just assume that they're all in it and you're outside of it? I assumed that they were all in the same kind of universe and they were all kind of buddy buddy, similar politics, that sort of thing. And apparently, no. So let's play the first clip. I just want reactions. I just want to get through it. I want to see what the hell is going on here and what does it mean about sports media.
No, no, no. It's not about whether Nick loves it. It's not about whether Nick loves it. It's whether Nick can do it if he really tried as hard as he possibly could.
And this is where, and again, this is where we probably, okay, I mean, this is where we probably shouldn't go. But we're here, so I'll just land the plane. My argument would be, yeah, this is mean. We don't know whether or not I can do what you do. I think we do know that you can't do what I do.
That's not an answer. That is exactly what Nick does.
I mean, well, sure.
I would say this. I would say in Nick's report card, I will do the crime of assigning myself, Dan, and you know how painful this is for me, to give myself a B+ in the sports hot take game.
They do grade inflation at the Ivy League schools, don't they? They really do.
I will grant that is what my 13 years at ESPN has resulted in, is a B+, which is a horrifying concept to me. Nick can get an A, and you know what I would say? Nick is one of the best at making it seem.
Okay, Jesus Christ. Ooh. Okay, for those who don't know the context, I'll fill in the context right there, because the knife was twisted rather slowly. Nick is making reference to how Pablo co-hosted a show with other friend of the podcast, Bomani Jones, called High Noon, that got run on ESPN and was ultimately canceled. I believe that is what's being implied there. I believe what's being insinuated there. What they're arguing about is whether Nick Wright has the skills to be an investigative journalist in the way that Pablo Torre has been. It's just a strange dick measuring contest. Excuse my language, folks. Excuse my language, ladies and gentlemen. But I actually found it interesting. Nick referenced the story he broke on Adrian Peterson in 2014 as an example of a story he broke when he was a radio personality, and given his belief in himself and what he did with that story, he thought that he could be like Pablo and be an investigative journalist, and Pablo disagreed. What do you think? What do you think, Sam? I have a lot of thoughts. I just want you preliminarily, though.
That was a dick way to express the point. So my initial thought when I saw that was, oh, there's gotta be more below the surface. Like, you don't go there unless someone has irked you for more than a few days. Like, there's got to be backstory there, and that's the part that I'm interested in, because that's the part I do not know. You know, that is the part I do not know.
I listened to the broader 30-minute clip, and there has been a lot back there, just little slights, little offenses, and I think there are sensitivities to it. I have some awareness of Nick. I think a sensitivity for Nick that we've discussed when he's been on my show is that people will allege that he doesn't believe what he's saying, and that pisses him off. And I think they're incorrect about that. I think he does believe what he's saying. He believes in his take, but I think what people are often reacting to, since he's such an effective lawyer, if you're making the most effective case, like we're going to talk about Steph Curry versus Kobe Bryant later, right? If I'm making the most effective case for Steph Curry, it's not dishonest if I believe that Steph Curry's better historically than Kobe Bryant. But if I'm leaning so hard on all the pro Steph stuff and completely de-emphasizing anything anti and de-emphasizing anything with Kobe Bryant, people are going to react to it like it's dishonest, right? Because I'm just making such an exaggerated case for what I really believe. And so I think that there's a sensitivity there on the idea that this guy's a hot take artist. He's a Skip Bayless. He's pretending to believe things he doesn't believe. That sort of allegation, I disagree with. And then on the Pablo side, I think there's a sensitivity on the idea that he's doing something tawdry, something tabloid, rifling around through Bill Belichick's personal life, this sort of thing. And Pablo believes that he's done capital J, true journalism. It's really hard. Other people couldn't do it. And I think that's what the rift in this case is about.
I mean, isn't the reaction and kind of the tone and tenor it's taking more just a response to social media? Isn't it just kind of like your point about Nick? I certainly see that across my Twitter feed all day. People just assuming he doesn't believe what he's saying. He's just doing this for effect. He's a hot take artist. Like, even worse, by the way, for like Stephen A. Smith. Like, that's all anyone says for someone like that. And then on Pablo's side, it's kind of the flip. It's just an endless feedback loop of people, calling him the greatest journalist on earth for taking down the Clippers. Don't you think that part of it is somewhat leading to this as well? Like, to me,
I
it just
do.
seems like you get like the problem with social media is you get feedback you didn't invite. And then it comes in at such scale that even the most rational professional person who's like, I need to not look at this or pay attention to this, it still seeps into your head on some level.
It does. And on this, it was interesting. When I listened to the full 30 minutes, I found myself actually more sympathetic to Pablo and what he was saying than in the clips that have shot around the internet. I think most people are saying that Nick completely won he won these rounds. And
He did
even
win
though,
these rounds, to be clear.
what was that?
I think he did win the rounds.
Yeah, definitely. He won the rounds. And what's interesting about it is that Nick, I think, had been getting he invites, or he's a magnet for far more scorn and anger than Pablo, where it's just been effusive praise, 90% effusive praise. But it seems like Pablo doesn't perceive it that way. And I almost feel as though Pablo got laid low here because he wants more than he's getting. And that's weird to people because from our perspective, you're so successful, you're doing so well. People might have this or that issue with this or that podcast. But he's saying to everybody, people think that investigative journalism is easy. It's not easy. He was tweeting that. He was saying he's infuriated by that idea. He's infuriated by Nick Wright thinking he
Isn't
can
that
do
just
it.
isn't that just a response to too many trolls are getting under his skin? Like that is, to me, that's how it comes across. Right or wrong, like it's a human response. I've been guilty of it. You've been guilty. I don't know anyone who hasn't been guilty of it at some point, but
Not me, buddy. I'm just
that's
perfect
right.
equanimity. I just so much confidence in myself that nobody can shake me unless somebody in the chat right here says something mean to me, then it's going to haunt me and just be a wrench in my gears for the rest of the show.
Just gonna share the screenshot over and over again in group chats so people tell you it's
Oh,
wrong, right? Give me
yeah.
out.
Well, here's what's weird though. On substance, if it's an argument about whether Nick Wright can be an investigative journalist, a topic I've never thought about, I've never considered, never pondered until this week, and it became a specific topic. I don't think he would be. I don't think he'd be a good investigative journalist, and that's not an insult to him. And it's not me disproving that he once broke a big story, and he did a great job on that story in 2014, which they were just arguing about on a granular level, and Pablo was trying to cast aspersions on his reporting. It's not about that. I think it's more if I'm trying to argue the Pablo side of it, it's one thing to break a story and to break one story. It's another thing to just live off that. It's another thing for that to be your lifestyle. I don't think a lot of people are built for that because I actually think that it forces you to make personal and professional compromises that are just very difficult to go through. I'm not Mr. Investigative Journalist, but I've done investigative journalism and I've broken stories and it cost me personally. It filled me with regret. I have regret to this day of some of the things that I've put out there and how
Ooh,
it
what
made
what
some of the
specifically?
I can't
Tell
even
all.
get into it. There was an assistant coach who felt like he told me something in confidence. And I put that thing out there as a blind quote, non-attributed, but I felt like I really broke his trust by putting that out there. And it was important to the story, but I spent years repairing that relationship. Not that I even needed it professionally, but just because I really admired him and as a friend felt like I had massively fucked up in doing that. And it took me years and I don't think it was ever the same. And there are just things like that that come up. There are just things like that when you're trying to push out a characterization of something that people don't want out there. And it's interesting because people don't want that out there. So it's no aspersion on Nick. It's no slighting of his skills. I think that he is extremely talented. But if I was Pablo, I wouldn't have said to Nick, "You've never reported a story in your life." Or when Nick gave an example, I wouldn't have said, "Oh, well, this example has this or that flaw." I would just analogize it maybe a little bit to, hey man, we can all hit a good golf shot. We can all have one good day at the
Right.
office doing this. It's a whole other thing to be doing it all the time. I don't think a lot of people this day and age, especially in the social media age, are built for that kind of thing.
Yeah. Like we can play pickup. I can hit a three. That's great. I will not be shooting 40% on high volume in NBA games because of that, you know?
Yeah.
So
And
I get the
maybe
point. I will say I do get both their perspectives. Like I have no
That's not
problem.
allowed. No.
I have no problem with Nick believing he could do it. I believe I can do all sorts of things that if I said it out loud, you'd laugh at me. You know,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with having self-confidence, and he is clearly, talented in media in general. So I have no problem with him saying that. And to your point, like if I was in Pablo's shoes, I'd probably be like internally eye rolling at the idea that everyone thinks they can do what I do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think they're both, as it said in the chat. And by the way, you can send in over Zoom questions if you so like. But Teutonia World was saying that at least 60% of normie sports fans feel the same way about both of them, that they're not talented, that they can do what these guys do. It's not correct. It's not true. But if somebody's just talking, I think a lot of people go, well,
I don't even think
talk.
60% of sports fans feel that. I feel like 60% of hyperactive Twitter users feel that.
That might be the case. I think there's something to that. And I think again, I understand the Pablo perspective just because I haven't done it to the degree that he's done it, but I've been in that realm long enough that I would almost have resentments over it because it's so easy for people to say I could do it, but it's just not something I would do, because the would is almost part of the cost of doing business. Like the would of being able to be that hated, to worry about being sued by these corporations.
I could do your job, but I'm so much better than doing something like that.
I would never
That's
lower
kind of how
myself.
it comes across.
I think we sort of solved what's going on. I think deep down, I'm glad we talked it out because I was scraping at this. I think we solved what was happening. Both of them at some level dislike that the perspective on their success is I could do that, but I would never lower myself to be able to do that. I believe that is what's happening right there.
I think you're 100% right. I think definitely for Nick, like there is this assumption that anyone can get on a broadcast and just start, spewing takes. And like, yeah, anyone can. That does not mean they will be good at it. That does not mean they'll cultivate an audience. It does not mean advertisers will want to advertise on their show. And that does not mean that they can be successful doing it in a way that is a real career.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, people who do those type of shows like Nick, like Stephen A, like Skip, like they tend to get more abuse online than anyone else, because it doesn't feel like a skill to someone doing a drive-by, I guess is the best way to put it. Like a drive-by comment. It's like, oh, that guy's just a blowhard. Anyone can do that. It's like, all right, well, if anyone could do that, then they wouldn't pay Nick any money. They'd go find someone cheaper,
For the record, I am more talented than both of them, and I just have morals, folks. That's what's happening here. I could have
if I was Nick, people responding like that would get under my skin so much so because it's such BS. I don't buy that at all, but that is such a common retort to that. Oh, I'm so above this.
Yeah. Even if it's unsaid, I think people feel that way. And it's not just Twitter freaks. It's people in the industry. It's an industry that is pulsating with resentment and insecurity and narcissism. And there's a lot of looking over people's shoulder.
You're doing this, but you're not writing for the New York Times. I am a real journalist, that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that even with Pablo, I think a lot of people resent Pablo because he's getting all this praise and he's getting this elevation. And I think that it's deserved, but people are going to feel in this industry, especially, this is the only industry I know about where you can get paid like a not even good lawyer and people will totally resent your success and go, like, oh my God, why that guy doesn't, who does this guy think he is? That sort of thing. Maybe it happens in other industries. I'm just talking extemporaneous.
No, but I mean, you're right. Like there's something inherently public facing about media jobs, like some of them more than others. But even if you're just a writer whose job it isn't to get on television, like the fact that you have to utilize the internet and social media to publish your stuff, like makes you front facing in a way that your pediatrician is not, your pediatrician isn't leveraging, social media the way a media professional has to grow their business.
Who does this pediatrician think she is what people maybe should wonder to balance everything out. Thomas J says, Harvard guy doesn't think non-Ivy level educated can do what he does. Non-Ivy level educated guy thinks Harvard guy is ridiculous for thinking only Harvard types can do it. I guess Nick went to Syracuse, the sports journalism. Maybe that's part of this too. I think part of what people are also reacting to, and even why, while Pablo has been very popular online, people liked what Nick was saying. People don't think journalism's a real job or investigative journalism is a real job. And I'm here to tell all of them, you're right. You're right. It's not like a real job. You don't like apply to do it. It's not a guild. I think that's part of it as well. If you're trying to establish this and do it in the way Pablo's doing it, just because it's hard doesn't mean it's defined and doesn't mean it has standards and doesn't mean that it would prevent anybody from trying their hand at it. And so I think that's part of this as well, is that if you're trying to establish that journalism is a job worthy of respect, this day and age, online, that's going to be a losing battle.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like you see it more and more with younger generations too. Like ones who are born into this. That's why they all feel like edgelords online.
Yeah.
Like
knocking people down a peg. I was going to play another clip from this, but I don't know. I don't know if we need to get completely down the rabbit hole of it. I'll dealer's choice, Sam. Do you want another clip of this bizarre journalism dick measuring contest, or do you want a clip having to do with sports journalism of Rich Paul talking to Max Kellerman? Which do you want right now?
Let's get to the next one. Let's get to Rich Paul.
Yeah, Rich Paul, Max Kellerman. They have a podcast together, folks. It's like you were doing Mad Libs. It's like you were just picking names in sports media out of a hat, as increasingly
that
happens.
is kind of how every new sports podcast feels. It's like, hey, you know what? What if we get Charlie Villanueva and Raymond Felton
How did you even
with some random dude, and we'll just talk about basketball? It's like, okay, cool. Oh, what's up, Theo Pinson? Yeah. Okay. You know,
I mean, now I'm trying to do this. Let's get Matthew Berry, the fantasy guy, and Antoine Jameson. It's just like just grabbing names, whatever name you can find. Let's play this clip right here. I found this to be, well, at the very least, amusing.
Thinking at the time that the Jets.
Hold on.
Yeah. All right.
I gotta answer this.
Go ahead, do it.
I'm on the show right now, but I had to take your call. Because you shammed. I had to take it, you know. You're my guy. What we got? Okay. Okay, perfect. All right.
Who gives who information when Shams calls you?
Don't worry about all that.
Do you believe that, number one, Sam? Do you believe that was a genuine, non-contrived, for social media interaction?
You know, wow. I actually didn't even think about that. I just assumed it was real.
Naive.
I just assumed it was real. You are right. Like maybe I need to have a more cynical lens and just assume everything is staged at all times. I assumed it was real.
So
because they don't do a live podcast. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not like they can't go through editing and cut that out. You know, I'm sure they cut a bunch of stuff out in editing. Most of it just boring, like awkward silence. Right. So I'm assuming it's real because, and you know, to be fair, it was intriguing, right?
I think you shared it in a group chat I'm in with you, and I want to know what you liked about that before I get into my thoughts on it. What's going on there?
I mean, Rich Paul's got some charisma. I'll give him that. Say what you want about him, but he knows how to. He's charismatic in front of a camera. And to me, that was just, biggest agent in the NBA right now, just kind of displaying his power for everyone to see. The response to Max was the exact, don't worry about it. Don't worry about what I'm doing up here. Hilarious,
I got to get that club in my bag. The don't worry about that. I got to use it.
It was so natural because if you say it like stuttering, don't worry about it, then you sound kind of weird and you invite more questions. But you say it like that, it has an air of coolness to it that you or I could never achieve. Let's be honest.
I got to use that with my wife. Are you playing 9 or 18 holes? Don't worry about that.
Don't do that.
Don't worry about all that.
Will you be home for dinner? Don't worry about it.
I think Max Kellerman asked a really good question, which is who gives who information. what a lot of people don't know, what a lot of people don't know about that industry, the newsbreaker industry, an industry that has been criticized here. But the way it works, it's not just one guy begging the other guy for info. It's more of an arbitrage. It's more of a trade. And I have no idea how these guys do it. And if I was looking at their jobs, because I know a lot of people will dump on Shams because, I don't know, he's a mouthpiece for this team, or the
I will say
tweets.
this about Shams. I guarantee you, anyone who thinks they can do his job, you do not have the drive
There's no way
to just be that driven and like harass people and just constantly be talking to people 20 hours a day.
I think it's a similar job where there are moral compromises that are necessary for one being good at it. But making those compromises would not in of itself make me good at that job. Just the willingness to do that and to make those compromises to get in with whoever was powerful. I still could not do that. I could not do that. There's just no way. And so I have respect for it. I actually have a weird amount of respect for a lot of people in sports media, including Adrian Wojnarowski, who is at the top of that profession. I don't think I could ever do what that guy did. There's no way. But it also is that aspect we were just talking about where I also wouldn't. So I don't know. There's this little caveat to it where I couldn't, but I also wouldn't. But the wouldn't is not the couldn't. And so that's what I see right there. That's just a crazy thing. I don't know how they figure that out, where they'll call up the agent or the team and say, hey, I'm hearing that they're going to be drafting this guy here. Can you tell me which guy you're going to be drafting where? I have no idea how they figure out that pricing system.
Yeah. I mean, the draft stuff is on another level. Like, I'm just confused about, I just assume it's someone at the league office leaking that to Shams the entire time, like 5 minutes before the pick comes in. Like, the more interesting reporting is the stuff the day before the draft where they're like letting you know, essentially, it's like, this is going to go down tomorrow, feeling, that sort of thing.
Yeah. The actual news break, I don't need it. Now, the broader topic here that's also interesting is, why is Rich Paul doing this show? What's going on? He's talking loosey-goosey about the Lakers and what a bum operation they are while his signature client is on the team. I take it to all mean that LeBron's career is effectively done. I don't think he's retiring this season, but I think it sets up the next season rollout. And Rich Paul is just sitting around and going, well, this chapter's over, and I'm just going to expand my brand, and I'm going to figure out a way to be heard by more people, because protecting the LeBron James contract situation is just, look, I mean, it was revealed, folks, that LeBron James got a TrackMan installed in his house. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's this
that's what you buy when you're ready to retire.
Oh yeah. It tells you your golf shot, all the specs. It's super fun. I love it. But if I had it in my house, I feel like it's all I would be using. And I think that tells you what time it is. That the LeBron James career might not be technically over, but I also would say I think it's spiritually over.
It's in a very weird place for a guy who's as accomplished as him. We should be celebrating him and the retirement tour. And instead it's kind of like all right, dude, you still want to do this? Can you just leave? Can you just leave?
Did you ever see Forget Paris with Billy Crystal?
Yep.
Do you remember?
Don't know why I responded so quick to that, but yes, I have seen it.
You're proud of yourself for getting that one. Do you remember where Billy Crystal's a referee in the NBA? It's actually got some of the most realistic, best NBA footage that you will see in a movie. And he's having a meltdown, what people now call a crash out, where he's kicking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar out of his farewell game. And Kareem says,
it's a good scene.
But it's my farewell game. And Billy Crystal, annoyed as he's kicking him out, goes, farewell. I think that's where we're at with LeBron right now. Most of us. I don't want the whole Derek Jeter tour. I don't want the whole Kobe tour. It's been enough. It's been
who's gonna give it to him? He doesn't matter that much to a single fan base, Or sorry, he does matter that much. Yeah, they might, but even he's left them twice, and difficult situations. Like, he's not revered that way. He obviously has billions of fans or millions or whatever, but it's not the same as the Kobe retirement tour, 20 years a Laker and blah blah blah, or like what's likely going to happen with Steph whenever he retires. He's Mr. Warrior, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know what it's most analogous to, but this is probably out of your depth or just interests, is Cristiano Ronaldo. I always thought he's still playing. He's like 41. I mean, him and LeBron are the exact same age. He's now playing in some Saudi club.
Yeah.
But he's always front and center on everything. He's always doing interviews with Piers Morgan, always doing interviews. He just has to be the center of attention at all times. And it's like, he's he's one of the best players of all time. And he's wildly impressive that he can still play at this age, but his best days are beyond him. And he's just kind of annoying how he won't go away.
Yeah. And
I think that's where we're at with LeBron, where it's just kind of like the team's moved on. No one really wants to see you go to like a fifth team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, you could probably still play at a borderline all-star level for another 3 years, which is insane given he's in his 40s. But it's just kind of like the story's over. I don't know. Like if he went to Cleveland that's probably his best option. But like if he went somewhere else to chase a ring, does anyone even care? He's moved around too many teams. It's just kind of like, I don't know. Everyone's sick of it. I don't know how else to put it.
I've talked about this, how there is this scene in Family Guy, doing a lot of references here, folks, where Peter Griffin says to his family that he didn't care for The Godfather. And he was asked why. They're all offended. He says, it insists upon itself. Now, I don't feel that way about The Godfather, but that phrase lodged in my brain, and that's what the whole LeBron last 10 years has felt like, where there's been an insists upon itself. There's been kind of this big propaganda PR push about everything. I've talked about it on my podcast about his 10-point a game streak. He was willing to give up to make the right play to win. And I'm just going, 10-point a game? I've never heard that phrase in my entire life. Like, you're working too hard.
It's also just inaccurate because I can think of multiple playoff games during that streak. One very famous one. But there was one with the Heat in 2014 as well. Less famous, but just had 7 points. What was I going to say?
But it's not even something, I don't need to know that he scored 10 points a game to be impressed by his career. It's an impressive career, but it's that sort of leaning on and propaganda. Sam, it happened again. We got in LeBron grousing. I think we need to get out of this. I think we need to
let's move on.
Pivot. We need to pivot to more of a I was going to maybe go with the Gen Z whining of the French Kings center. I was going to go with that, or Justin Herbert, given the metaphorical stiff arm to the Monday Night Football interview. Dealer's choice. Which do you want?
Okay, I've seen the Justin Herbert clip. I have not seen the Kings one. So if you think my live reaction to the Kings one is going to be better, go with that. If you think the fact that I have preconceived thoughts on the Herbert one, go with that. I'm throwing it back at you.
Well, you're going to have to successfully
Or we're going to do both.
I need you to pronounce the Kings.
Maxime Reynaud.
There we go. Yes, the Kings French center.
Reynaud.
Okay, yeah. So for the exposition, tell everybody that name, say it clearly. I didn't want to stumble over it and reveal how checked out I am from the NBA. So
Maxime Reynaud,
the
French second-round pick center. Went to Stanford, right? A little bit of a local guy.
Okay.
We'll claim him.
Local hero.
I know you don't claim him because you're a Cal guy.
I don't care about that. I'm not into that rivalry, by the way. I'm not into that rivalry.
That rivalry mattered so much when I was 10 years old.
Well, I'm not into it. It mattered more, but it's just, Stanford's just better. They're just better. I don't want to walk around having a bunch of resentment for a place that's just better. That rivalry died for me when I got a tour of the Stanford campus as an adult, as a name drop given to me by Sam Hinkie. Sam Hinkie gave me a tour of the Stanford campus, and it's beautiful. It's a utopia.
It is a really nice campus. That and UCLA are probably the two prettiest campuses on the West Coast.
There aren't mentally ill people pooping all over the place. It's just stuff like that's not happening there. So it's nice. It's better. I never replied there, so I don't have any sort of a resentment over it. But where were we? Let's play this clip right here of this is the theme for the midpoint of the show, is a Gen Z take on media.
Is there one thing that you can pinpoint that you think is going wrong with you guys?
I mean, honestly, guys, I don't think it's my role to tell you what kind of question to ask, but I don't think after losses it's a good thing to just pinpoint wrong things and say that like the locker room is not going well. I do think once again all these guys are professionals, they're fathers, they're husbands, and they know how to face tough times like that, and so we'll come together and be better players and be the professionals. So
that was shared.
Wow,
with
this
me.
actually ties in pretty nicely to the Justin Herbert thing when I think about it.
You want to just play the Herbert clip? Let's just play the Herbert clip. We'll just,
Because I really think it's the same impulse. They're basically the same age.
They're trying to redefine media responsibilities. Play that Herbert?
Yeah, I'm trying to celebrate with my team. No, I know, but can we just talk to you really fast? What was it like to watch the interception there that sealed this game for you guys to get this win? Yeah, the defense played incredible. They came up with so many big stops today, so proud to be able to play for those guys, and the way they compete down in, down out is really fun to watch. We know you were dealing with the broken hand tonight. You gutted it out. You were hit multiple times. How are you feeling right now? Feel pretty good, thank you. And then what can you say about the way that this team was able to pull this off in overtime? You guys know how important this game was and how good the opponent was on the other side. Yeah, not the way we drew it up, but the battle in these guys, it's so much fun.
Okay, he kind of warmed up a little bit at the end.
Can you, I just want to say, like, the ability to go from being kind of a brat to immediately into Peyton Manning mode, like flip like that, that's what I want my quarterback.
Yeah, I don't want the first thing, though. I'm out on it.
No.
I don't want that.
But it's amusing to me. Like, he clearly didn't want to do it, and within a split second, he can flip into quarterback talk.
Okay, so it just seems like they're trying to redefine the responsibilities, and there's a lot of support for them redefining it. If you saw reactions to this, you'd see a lot of people saying, "Yeah, you tell the media that they think they're all this, they think they're all that," that sort of thing. And I get that. I get the media is hateable, and I understand that. But I think people are wrong. They're wrong when they say this stuff. They're wrong when they defend this stuff. This is the overwhelming response to the Herbert thing was, we don't get anything from these post-game interviews anyway. Just let him be with his teammates. Let him be with his teammates. You can't just let him be with his teammates. We don't get anything. This was days after Mendoza over the weekend had this incredibly memorable, emotional speech in the post-game interview. I don't think that it's accurate. I used to hear this all the time. And then the people who would say it, I would know that I'd seen them sharing clips of post-game interviews with players where the players said something interesting. I know a lot of the time maybe they don't and they hem and haw, but if you're going to get the emotions of the game and what just happened on this big TV show we're watching, and you're going to get as real as you can get, I don't support its greater in shitification. And I almost feel like
there's a bigger thing at play here, though.
Yeah, well, okay, so I was going to write this, but it's almost like everything's like this, where the coaches don't want to wear a suit. They don't want to wear a suit. Why would you make them wear a suit? They want to wear nice, comfortable little European Eurotrash tracksuits. That's what they want. Let's let them do that. It's like, okay, now this whole thing doesn't feel like as much of a TV show. It doesn't feel as glorious. It doesn't have the gravitas. It doesn't have the cachet. And it's the same with that. Was Justin Herbert, if he agreed to that interview after the game, going to say something that I really cared about or that stuck with me? Well, maybe because he was playing with a broken arm and it was a memorable performance, but it's just more about the professionalism of the thing and making the thing feel like it matters. And I think it's crazy if a franchise quarterback tries to slough off the Monday Night Football interview.
Yeah, but why are they doing this? It's because they feel like everyone has too much access to them at all times. That's what it is. These how old is Herbert? 25 would be my guess.
Yeah, something like that. Let me look it up.
27. Oh yeah, come on, man. Now you're being immature. I was gonna give you grace if you're 25. No,
you're practically a millennial. I mean, what are you doing?
No, he's Gen Z. I mean, all these, and this is true of Maxine Reynaud too. Like, they're all afraid of online pylons. That's what it really comes down to. They're overexposed. They hear too much of it. They the mistake they make is they conflate that media with what they get on their phones from fans. And that's like the real issue here. So like, oh, media is always out to get us. It's like, no, like Jim48256, the Twitter user, is out to troll you. I don't think I can't remember who's the sideline reporter there.
Why would I want to say,
but I don't think she's out. I don't think she's out to get you.
Is it Rutledge?
I think she's just doing her job.
Yeah,
so
Rutledge. I just think it's funny when people defend it. It's like, no, maybe I have a different perspective because I worked in sports and sports media.
Yeah.
But you don't just run away from the Monday Night Football reporter. What are you talking about? This is Monday Night Football. This isn't. I mean, that's what we're dealing with all these younger athletes. They feel like the camera's on them 24/7 because someone is filming them at all times, probably since they were 13 years old or 12 years old. You know, mom following them around with a smartphone, which was whatever. Then, you know, every step of the way, everything's online all the time. People are always all over you. And so it just leads to like, it's the reason they're all hyper private and they all try to kind of stay away from this stuff. You know, it's so different than like the elder millennial athlete, like the LeBron, where it's just like, oh yes, please give me more attention, you know? Yeah.
Because they were not born into it. All this stuff, like, you know, we're same age as like LeBron, Steph. Like all this stuff popped up in our 20s. You got to go to college without this type of anxiety and fear. Imagine what someone like Herbert or Reynaud has had to deal with like you can't even go to a party and have one too many drinks without someone probably recording you and it becoming a thing about you. I really do think that leads to this entire like very cold anti-media thing, even though that has like, again, the Monday Night Football coming out to talk to you is like the most milquetoast, like harmless media possible, you know, like, and it's unfortunate because it's like nice to keep those things that are just like a tradition. Like you play Monday Night Football and the winning quarterback talks for 2 minutes about the game afterwards. Like it's cool. It's like your point about Suits. Like it's just nice to have that thing that, like, you know, coaches a generation ago did it and the coaches the generation before them did it. You know, it leads to kind of that tradition.
Yeah, I mean, but people would defend it if they wheeled out the turkey for the Thanksgiving NFL games and somebody goes, I don't like turkey, and they slapped it down. There'd be a bunch of people defending it. Your point is a great point. You look at it through the prism of anxiety. I look at it through the prism of they've already gotten the attention. You know, they don't have a sense.
Also true.
That a generation ago would have had of, oh my God, I'm on Monday Night Football. Like America's watching. This is big time. They've been in this cocoon of attention for years.
No, he's got the fear of if he scratches his nuts during practice, a video of it's going to be blasted to every person who knows him on his phone.
Yeah.
It's like it's just, I don't know. You're very exposed is the best way I'd put it.
I just don't get defending it. That's what I think is crazy. And you see people going, oh, let them do the interview later. Let them do the interview later in the locker room. Yeah. You know what's different about that interview versus the one that Rutledge was attempting? The one Rutledge was attempting had 10 million people watching it. That's not going to happen. There's no later. There's no later. If you do later, I know it feels like it's all the same, but it's just
we also just like the rush, the endorphins. Like he just won a big game.
Yeah.
There's an adrenaline. Yeah. So that someone in the comments go, the adrenaline rush right after the game, like even 30 minutes after when they shower and go to the podium, it's gone. Like, would he still be excited on the podium? I'm sure if you win a big game, you're excited for multiple hours, but it's not the same reaction that you're going to get right after.
Broken arm at that point, the pain meds where it's just groaning, you know, maybe that's, if I'm to be fair to him, and I don't want to be, it made me not like him. I'm now out on Herbert. That's just where I'm at. You can't force me to be any different. Maybe he just was on a ton of drugs. Maybe he was just flying. Maybe he didn't have his faculties because of whatever he had to shoot up.
Have you seen the Aaron Rodgers post game where he's clearly on some painkillers?
I mean, I don't know if I can differentiate it from his general laconic manner, but I need to look that up later. It's brought up by Tom P. More Michael Crabtree diss tracks. Yes, that's one of the all-timers was Richard Sherman deflecting the pass that got intercepted in the playoffs from Crabtree and then just going completely insane afterwards. That's what we want. Bart Scott can't wait. That's what we want. That's what the money's for. That's part of it. And if I were to just hate on Herbert a little bit more, what has this guy done to be able to stiff arm that interview? I'm sorry. I know all the nerds out there talk him up a lot. I'm not even going to insult that performance because it had a lot of context to it where he's so hurt and he was gutting it out and running for yards. But I don't know. It's almost like, did we see something that happened as a result of this particular player being puffed up before the accomplishments have happened? There was a little bit of that. I had a little bit of that when I saw it.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely true. By the way, Maze, I just sent you a better version of the Aaron Rodgers one.
Okay.
You can enjoy it. It's your call if you think you should play it, but I think Ethan would enjoy it.
Let's watch this. Let's watch a stoned out of his mind Aaron Rodgers. Can we get that up there? I mean, I'm just snapping my fingers like it can be conjured. I don't know how hard or easy it is. Let me...
the second one, Maze.
Okay. How many drugs does that guy need to do to get through his games these days? Football's insane. You know, the other weird thing about it, before we play that, is if we didn't know about Herbert's injury, which is sometimes how it is with injuries, we would just all say that he was a bum, that he sucks. But we had the context. Okay, it's going to take a second. Let's look down the list right here as we wind down the home stretch. Okay. Do you want to go with Bijan Robinson saying smear the queer? Let's go with that. This is more of our Gen Z topic with athletes. Let's see that. Let's see Bijan Robinson, for those who don't know, star running back, Atlanta Falcons. They won. By all accounts, a really responsible young man. I mean, Kirk Herbstreit was just touting him, talking him up, said whatever family raised you the right way. And then in the course of conversation, this might be why Justin Herbert wants to avoid a post-game interview. This example right here. Let's get our Bijan Robinson. It's a little low vol. Okay, I think we heard the offending phrase.
What is it about you on Thursday?
Okay, we can get that out of there. We can get that the slur off our screen, ladies and gentlemen. So if you couldn't hear it properly, it is as I've described. He talked about learning to play running back growing up, and he referenced a game called Smear the Queer. I wouldn't say it's the least homophobic name of names. I mean, I remember in the 90s that was a term, and it is quite crazy in a way that was the term, that was like a phrase everybody knew. I don't know the complete etymology of it. So there are people who are criticizing Bijan Robinson for saying this. I've got a defense of him, not defense of the game or the name of the game, but the defense of him. And I'm seeing that there are people, there's a 49ers content creator who said, Evan Swords, this just shows how comically dumb some football players are. LOL. This man has no concept. What he's saying is bad. Smiling on national TV. He hasn't had to think about anything other than football his whole life. LMAO. Well, I guess what's funny about that.
I mean, what's funny about that is you're ascribing your set of morality to someone you don't know. So
yeah.
It's like, what is the purpose of that tweet other than to virtue signal that you're a great, you're a good human, like, let me put it this way. Yes, the game was called that when I was a kid too. Would I have said it on national television? No. But does it surprise me an athlete post game who's riffing, probably hyped up from a big win? And also, like, come on, you've been in locker rooms far more than I have, but like, it's not a PC place. Like, do you think anyone in the locker room was offended by him saying that? Do you think they took it as anything?
No, not at all. But I also think I've got another weird defense of him. I remember Myers Leonard was on some sort of Twitch stream, and he said the word kike. And his defense was that he literally didn't know what it meant. And people mocked that, but I believed him. I believed that he literally didn't know. I believe that we have some slurs around or phrases around that people younger than us, they might not even know. He just knew that in a stream, people say stuff like people say an invective or it's a curse or whatever. I don't know. I'm willing to
or they
believe
don't
Myers
make that
Leonard
mental
said that
connection that term they're using is actually like offensive to
Yeah.
a large population of people. Like, I don't think Bijan said that with like some sort of like malice in his heart to offend a bunch of people. I think he just called it what he remembered and he didn't think of it as associated as like a homophobic slur.
I'm just saying it's possible. I don't know for a fact, but it's possible since it's a rhyming phrase. It's possible that he just doesn't even know because I don't know. I can't remember the last time I saw a homophobic person use the term queer. I see homophobic people saying other phrases, and I see people who are whatever the opposite of homophobic is, use queer as a positive. So I don't know if Bijan Robinson in his early 20s, I don't know what he's interfaced with, but it's almost a separate side issue where it's easy to judge and criticize in the way the tweet that I read, but it gets us into this funny position where if the main thing you do as a content creator is to tout and exalt what these football players do, it's kind of odd then to be so judgy. These guys do violence. That's what they do. They're selected to be violent people who do a violent thing.
That reaction, by the way, is why Justin Herbert and Maxime Renault have such anti-media response. They don't want to deal with that, you know? And I'm not, it's not even like a justification of what Bijan said in any way. It's just like, he clearly said something off the top of his head without thinking, you know, hey, I probably don't want to say this on the Amazon Prime broadcast, you know, but he was just talking and, you know, what was your my reaction? We just kind of like laughed at the absurdity of it, right? Where I was just like, I can't believe you just said
absurd.
That.
Like,
yeah.
This is a weird topic, but bigotry is sometimes funny because it's so dumb and just shocking. Like, it's absurd that there's a game called that. It's just, it's completely ridiculous. And so there's that. And also I was just shocked because I didn't know that still was going on. I didn't know that game was continuing. So I think that was my second reaction. I love that Teutonia says, I'm going to say the realest thing right now. Actually check swing. I'm very curious.
Yeah, we've all been there, buddy.
Anthony May says, if Cam Scatabo says it, he becomes a MAGA hero. Potentially. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. It all depends on the context, I suppose. Yes. So yeah.
Also, some PR person pulled him aside afterwards and said, "Don't say that," which is fine. Like, you know, just give the guy a little grace. You know, if he goes on a 20 tweet homophobic rant like the way Kanye would do randomly when he's off meds, then yes, we can readdress the whole thing. But that's not how I saw it. So,
well, we've already been through this a little bit, and we've just determined, I mean, our morality when it comes to sports media is so arbitrary, and we've just got different rules for different situations. Anthony Edwards, I thought he put an Instagram story out of just really disliking looking at some gay guys being gay. That's really what the substance was. And I think we've just collectively decided that we don't care. He's just a charismatic, guy.
Just driving past people. He's like, this needs to go on my story right now. Everyone needs to know how upset I am.
Yeah. And then there are people who are the most judgy, and I don't even want to say woke because that term's played out, but we'll say social justice-y, the most annoying people we know in NBA media who will lecture up and down, who will hate somebody like myself for, I don't know, being a reasonable person or whatever. They let that one slide with Anthony Edwards, and it's just not part of it's not part of how they relate to him. It's just sort of arbitrarily deleted.
I mean, I think it would be better if we treated most of these missteps like that, where it's like, you shouldn't have done that, but we're not going to turn it into a 48-hour conversation about whether you're a good or a bad person. You know, like, just give people a little more. You want young athletes to not have such a negative view of media. Give people a little more grace, you know? Give people
Unless they reject the Monday Night Football interview, and no grace from me, sir. I'm offended on behalf of the media and behalf of football broadcasting. Okay, let's get to a basketball conversation for our last one. Speaking of Nick Wright, we begin with Nick Wright. We end with Nick Wright. We play a clip of Bill Simmons and Nick Wright discussing the historic comparison of Steph Curry versus Kobe Bryant. And I guess Steph is near enough the end that we can have these conversations and just kind of assume that his career. I mean, are you ready? Are you ready for that? Are you there? Or do you accept that Steph's career is kind of what it's going to be at this point?
In all likelihood.
Okay. Okay, roll the clip.
You know how these things go. They win a game and I start getting delusions of grandeur.
Yeah. Kuminga traded for Giannis.
No, but I do think Curry versus Kobe is a better argument that people want to give it credit for. I mean, Kobe only won one MVP. And he won the 2 on his own. Steph won 4. He won the 1 on his own. Then the other 3, I guess you could give him 15. But that I just think it's a better argument than people give it credit for. Where Kobe wins it, I think, if you're going to give it to Kobe, is all of those All NBAs and everything else he did. Basically, after 08, he has this whole like second prime that Steph hasn't really totally had.
And listen, you and I are in lockstep on I think for the good and bad about Kobe. Like what is true on the con side of the ledger is he has a couple grisly finals, and they're not always, and it's not just when he was a kid. His finals against the Pistons was a disaster. And it's not just the 3 years smack dab in the middle of your prime where you miss the playoffs and then don't get out of round 1. Yeah. But the blowing a 3-1 lead in round 1 and game 7, second half quitting is like a real thing. Now, he overcame it because of those titles, but does that offset enough of he was such a better defensive player than Steph? Like, but it is that's a fair argument. But
you could argue with the case for Steph, if you're going to go deep on this, is the shooting and the threat of his shooting and how it affected the court and how the defense, almost like having Tyreek Hill on offense,
right.
where
I want to get my takes off. Let's
enough of this.
Good, but let's end this. I have takes. I think the framing's interesting. The Bill Simmons, it's more of a conversation than people say and people give it credit for, because I think Steph Curry's clearly a better player historically than Kobe Bryant, but Kobe Bryant died. That's how I feel. I know that sounds wrong. I know that sounds bad, but it's part of how we remember people. It's almost like trying to compare Kurt Cobain to some other rock star of the era, where tragically dying becomes part of the whole conversation and part of the memory, and it feels like
but Kurt
sacrilege.
Cobain's
It's more than that. It's also Kobe. There's a certain charisma to him. There's an admiration of how he played, and it's very graceful. Okay, we got to take... Now the hands are up. People want to get in on this. All right, how are we going to do this? We're going to have Teutonia, and then we're going to get the Sam take after that. I knew this was a hot topic right here. How you doing, sir?
What's going on? I'll be very quick. This won't be the normal long thing. The best argument that no one mentions is everyone agrees that the 2002 Kings series was rigged. The best argument for Curry is simply that if history proceeds from that point, and now he's won 2 out of 4, then it's similar to the 2 out of 4 for the Heat, and then it still ends kind of bad. But because the Lakers got that three-peat, it really, and yes, you can say Kobe gets maybe not full credit for that, but I never hear anyone say we all watched Game 6. The Kings could have won; they just would have had to win 5 games out of 7. And I never hear anybody say that part. And I'll get off right now.
Okay.
That kind of ties to my take, to be honest.
All right.
I think you're right. I think the tragedy of how he died, certainly forms the conversation in some ways, but I think it's a lot simpler. If Steph played for the Lakers and Kobe's career was a Warrior, would we
not
even
have
this conversation?
It's not even a conversation.
Like, the Lakers are the preeminent brand of the NBA. They are the biggest team by like a sizable amount. Steph would be viewed as a Mount Rushmore player if he had his career as a Laker. It wouldn't even be a question. Like, I think he's past Magic as well, to be clear. And, that's still a conversation at this point. So Kobe's an excellent player, top 15-ish of all time, but Steph is very clearly the better player. Like, you just look at some of the teams he's won with, and then you compare it to. That's why the Kevin Durant thing's so funny to me, because, the whole, well, those two are tainted. I'm like, Kobe played with Prime Shaq. Prime Shaq was actually the best player in the league. Kevin Durant was not. Prime Shaq went on to win another title with the Miami Heat right after he left the Lakers. Kevin Durant has not done anything since leaving the Warriors. So to me, it's just kind of like he wasn't supposed to be in this conversation. So any data point we can pull that makes him look worse is confirmation bias.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at some of the comments. Kobe's legacy was stratospheric and overrated while he was alive, though. I would agree with that. And, it's all right. I don't like beating back against it, not just because he died, but just because Kobe's such a cool player. So many great moments. Just what he did to the Spurs, incredible.
I mean, he is a great player. Like,
yeah,
no one's arguing that.
I don't like disparaging or saying that, because when you say something's overrated, it's almost like you're saying it's bad. And that's not how I feel about it at all, or I feel about him at all. But if you just look at all the nerdy advanced numbers, blah, 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 Steph Curry clears him and is the greatest shooter of all time. It's hard to say exactly what Kobe was the greatest of all time at. I mean, you could posit. Some would maybe say score.
Marketing.
I don't know.
Marketing.
Definitely.
The Mamba Mental marketing stuff still gets me. Yeah. I mean, it's good stuff, good branding.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that if he played
systems,
for the Lakers,
yes, Maze, agreed.
Yeah, I just Kobe's a great player. Just Steph Curry, believe, was a better player, and most of the statistics agree with me. Let's get Ryan on this though. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. What you got?
Yeah, so I kind of want to go back to the well on a few things about Pablo and imperialism, if that's okay. You got that great piece with Mike Pesca about the Riley Gaines hit piece, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
I had a few other Subtext posts, one about maybe like a better use of journalism with the New York Times piece about a transgender player that played for the volleyball team and all the impact that had. My observation was that if you go to the comments on a lot of that New York Times piece, all the top comments are not on board with like the transgender player and comments that are probably not in line with. So I'd say these comments are not agreeing with like the tactics of Riley Gaines, but agreeing with like the substance of what Riley Gaines is saying.
Yeah.
Like so many of these comments. I've noticed that a lot with the New York Times comments in general. Like when that topic comes up, they're very much not on board with transgender players in general.
Yeah.
So just wondering your thoughts on, is it the fact that Pablo's audience, are they just more like socially progressive than like the New York Times commenters? You would think they'd be pretty liberal.
Yeah. Okay. This is a good topic. We have to wrap up soon. It'd be funny if we said, and we're done after the end of that question. But this is something that you notice not just on the sports specific topic, but on the New York Times in general, where when people have written op-eds questioning some of the more activist interpretations, you'll just see in the comments, the top New York Times comments, are people saying, I'm a liberal, I'm a Democratic voter, and I agree with this skepticism, or I agree it's gone too far. And so there is this misalignment between not just where the American people are and where much of the sports media is at, but just the average Democratic voter and where a lot of the sports media is at on that particular issue. And what's frustrating about it to me is that I don't get a sense of where the media is really at on it, because they don't want to advocate explicitly for males and women's sports, but they want to use some firepower against people opposing it. So I don't know what they think the rules should be. I don't know what Pablo thinks the rules should be. I don't think that's articulated. And that's what's bothersome. I would agree with him that a lot of what Riley Gaines does is kind of low grade and rude and whatnot. But I just think that her position on the subject is more defensible than the other position, which in many instances is not a position. So, yes, I've noticed that dichotomy, and it's very strange to me. It drives me crazy. It drives me crazy when there's a media position of, I'm going to sneer and judge anybody for having a take on this, but I'm never going to have a take on this. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's cool. So that's where I'm at. All right. There you go. We've solved something. I don't know what we've solved, Sam. I don't know what we've solved, but this has been great. Give us a little promo for your outro before we wrap on up here.
A promo for my outro, isn't that kind of counterintuitive or opposite of what it should be?
An outro for your promo, whatever you want it, whatever
That's
you want
great.
it to be.
I have nothing to plug right now.
Okay.
Just get back to the light years thing. And
like and subscribe. Like and subscribe, light years. Like and subscribe. I forget to do that. I hear that works. You tell people to like and subscribe your stuff, Sam. Apparently they do.
It does work. It does. Our mutual friend, Spike, was the one who told me just say it and it will work. And he's right. There's so many pods that I listen to that I never think to just click the subscribe button, and it's not a conscious decision. It's just like, unless something pops in my head that says subscribe, I'm not going to do it, And so, I found you remind people, say like and subscribe, they will do it.
Yeah. Like and subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much. Great episode. Great stuff, Sam. Take care, everybody.